Advancing technology is unlocking huge opportunities for talented and passionate people, and the guys we're about to bring up on stage have truly made the most out of it. They've carved their own lane, and their career paths feel unlimited.
They've blown our minds with their insane trick shots, kept us laughing, and thrown up enough high fives to fuel a rocket launch. You know who I'm talking about. After all, this is their house we're in. Give it up for the 5 and only Dude Perfect, joined by our Samsung host, Emilio Cartier.
Hey, what's up, guys? How we doing? What's up, guys? Anybody? It's too bright.
Awesome. How are you guys?
Howdy.
Good, how's it going?
Our office has never looked this professional.
This is really something. You guys should set this up more often. It's great.
Well, we're happy to be here. It's amazing. You guys have been phenomenal with us. But before we get started with the questions, because I know a lot of you guys want to hear all the awesome stuff that you guys have going on, I want to congratulate you on your 15-year anniversary coming up.
Thank you.
It's quite an accomplishment, guys.
Our anniversary, we can almost start driving. Our,
that's
16 years coming up.
What's the actual day?
9th,
The
April
9th.
9th.
Whoa, I'm a little loud there. That's the date.
So tell me about that date. How did it start? I mean, how did you guys become Dude Perfect? What's behind the name?
It was very accidental. Had no plans of creating a brand or a business or even a YouTube channel, but we were all roommates at Texas A&M University in the backyard. Whoop, there you go. Hey, there, Gigamags. We made that very first video in between classes in the backyard. Corey was the only one that had a YouTube channel, so we posted it on his YouTube account. The name came up. We had the camera set up on one of the railings. Obviously, no cameraman. So one of the guys looked through the camera, saw everything was perfectly in frame, and was like, "Oh, dude, perfect."
Oh, nice.
Way better than Backyard Stuntman, which was the name that we came up with in the moment. Probably not as positioned, to be a lasting brand as Dude Perfect, but could have been worse, could have been better. We posted the video, and Good Morning America called a couple days later and wanted to put it on TV. Somehow got Corey's cell phone number. Still don't know how that happened. And we ran around screaming like little girls that we were on TV, and we thought, hey, we did it. That was it. Awesome. Way to go, guys.
Awesome. That's awesome. And so how did you then went from that one video, getting all that publicity fairly quick, right? How did you get from that moment to say, hey, there's an opportunity here. How can we turn this into business?
I don't think we really thought that it could be a business or anything for a while. We probably made 5 or 6 videos, and then GMC reached out and had the idea to do, they basically said, hey, if you could do anything, what shot would you want to do? We were joking, and we said we'd shoot a basketball out of a plane. And they said, okay, be in Austin at this date, in a week. And we show up, and there's this massive tent and 50 cars, and we think there's like a wedding going on, and it was them set up to film us. And so we were freaking out, and Ty got in the plane, and this turned out to be a TV commercial. But Ty flies through the air and drops the first shot and missed by 300 yards. And all the employees are sitting there, in their headsets, like looking at their watches. Oh, this was a huge disaster, and we're, of course, freaking out. And Ty circles back around, and we radio to him, hey, bud, shoot it a little sooner, I guess. And he drops it. Second shot, swish. Goes straight in, and it ended up being a TV commercial in the NBA Finals and FIFA World Cup. Wow. So that was the first time we got paid, and we would have done it for free if they had told us you can shoot a ball out of a plane. But we realized at that point that there might be something there, and that hopefully we could keep doing it.
Very cool. So then when you came up with that idea, let's get in the plane, let's throw the ball, is that something that you guys together said, oh, wouldn't it be awesome if we do this? Or is that something that you thought, hey, this has never been done before, let's see if we can get away with it? What's your creative process? How do you come up with this idea as your brainstorming process?
Yeah, I think that one was so early on that it was pretty easy to come up with new ideas at that point. There was plenty of new ideas and fresh content ideas that we could go take on, and back then it was even easier to just do it bigger than we'd done before. I think that's the hard part after being in this game for almost 15 years now, is coming up with not only just new content of the same series we've already been doing, but we're always trying every year to come out with a completely brand new piece of content that people haven't seen before from us to keep it fresh. And so that's where having 5 guys helps a lot. We each have our different roles, and early on, Corey was the one that was doing all the post-production, editing on the videos. I was solely responsible for the creative and building props and securing anything we would need for the videos. Cody was doing all the social media. Kobe was handling the business side. Gare was making sure that we actually paid our bills and didn't get kicked out of the little office that we had and being the responsible one. So that's one of the benefits of having 5 guys, but for sure the creative process, I think everybody would say that's one of the hardest things about it being this far in now.
And I would assume that when you're working with so many different brands and coming up with, you get a brief and you get all these different mandates that you need to kind of accommodate within your creative content. How do you work around those things? Have you guys ever been in a position where you're like, this doesn't feel like us? Like, what do you do in a case like that?
I think, and this certainly applies to you guys, we've been grateful to work with Samsung this last year, a couple of years now. And the best times we have with brands are when they're flexible, right? When the brand understands it does have to be authentic and natural to what you're doing. And so sometimes you can feel it if there's something that somebody has asked you to do that doesn't feel quite right. We've always really stood strong on the most important thing is that we serve our audience with this, right? And that it feels like something we would naturally want to do. And so as long as a creator stands firm on that, it really ends up benefiting the brand and the audience. And so that's something that we've always really valued over these 15 years.
So when you are considering new brands and you're taking shots, or you're trying to figure out, is this something that fits with our brand? Like, what is your criteria? Like, what is that you look for, that you say, hey, this makes sense for us, this is genuine to us? What is that process?
It's a great question. There's some that are more unusual, right? It's easier to integrate Bass Pro Shops when you're going to go do something fun outdoors than it might be to do an insurance company, right? Because how are you immediately going to come up with something there? But again, a lot of times we're feeling that out with the brand in those early conversations, right? Hey, what are you guys as the brand looking to get out of this? Are you willing for this to be something where we shine a really fun light on your brand without us having to talk about all the specifics of your life insurance policy? There's obviously a line in terms of that, but as long as it's somebody that we're comfortable with what that brand stand for and can represent that in front of a family-friendly audience, and we can do that in a fun way, that's typically the most important kind of metric for us.
So what would you recommend? I mean, you guys are in a position where brands come to you, right? But we have an audience where a lot of folks are going through things like that, where you have people coming up to them and they're like, oh, this is a paycheck, I gotta do this, right? Like, what would be your recommendation? Is it, what do you would say to them, to the audience right now? Hey, this is what I think you should follow.
I think one thing we always talk about is we know that we're continuing to set a precedent for ourselves with whatever we agree to. So for sure, early on, it's easy to want to say, yes, we'll do whatever. But if you are genuinely wanting your career to last a long time, you just have to remember that whatever you say yes to this next brand next month, 2 months from now, that next brand is going to look at that video and say, oh, they were willing to say 100 talking points, and it was a straight-up TV commercial, basically, at that point. We're going to have them do the same thing. And so we've just always tried to say, look, if we can set our standard, like Kobe said, this is going to be really fun, and we're going to paint your brand in a really fun light, and we're going to make this, to where the audience loves it. Like, that's our standard, and we hope that we'll be able to maintain that moving forward. So for sure, just think about the future and just know that what you agree to, you're probably going to do in the future.
Also think, Amelia, it takes more effort to come up with a fun way to integrate it instead of just stating the lines. But if we can treat it as a piece of the creative, we're going to spend all this time coming up with a video that's 12 minutes long, and we're going to come up with fun pieces for all of that. We might as well spend the time to make that ad integration fun as well, because that obviously is a win for everybody. The audience enjoys watching that piece of it, and then the brand is like, oh, wow, we haven't done it that way before. We really like that.
Right, and it's a fun challenge, right, to work around those barriers and make things work. But then let me ask you then, when you're coming up with this ideas, you have something set, you have a partner, you know what you're going to do. What is the process that you guys do? What's your schedule like? Is that something that you sit down and say, okay, from this time to this time, let's sit down, let's come up with ideas, let's put it on the board, let's see what we do? Or is that something that individually you come out, Beatles style? One comes up with a melody, the other one comes up with the lyrics. Like, what's the process?
So at this point, we try and, at some point during the beginning of the year, we try and sit down and come up with, we release videos every other week. So 20 to 25 video ideas will get us through a year, essentially. So we try at the beginning of the year to come up with those, what we think would be a good cadence, the types of series that we want to do, and we plan out for the most part as if there was no brands involved. What are the types of videos that we want to make this year, and what would they be? Then when a brand comes to us, we'll look at that list, and schedule-wise, we have the flexibility and freedom to kind of move those around because of the every other week cadence, which I think has been, going back a little bit, super beneficial to us just because you're not going to get burnout. It allows us flexibility in the schedule, and we're not always having to be filming every single week, and it frees us up to do some other stuff. Then we'll look at those, see if the brand can fit into one of those videos, and then, like Kobe said, it's usually a conversation with that brand, and we've been very fortunate to have opportunities to be able to say no, which I would also add is a very powerful thing just for you as a creator to be able to say no. We've used that multiple times, and then it ends up being a yes further down the road, but just with a little bigger paycheck to you. So if you've ever looked at a Dude Perfect video and thought, that was kind of an interesting one, I wonder why they did that, just know that we probably said no to that about 3 or 4 times, then it eventually became a yes. So don't be afraid to say no. But yeah, we will work with the brand to figure out, what exactly they need out of the video. But like you said, there is an element of fun and a challenge into incorporating that into a piece of content. And like Kobe said, whenever you can find a way to do that almost makes the audience smile, it's kind of like, oh, that was like pretty clever. Like when we did I think back to the last Rage Monster that we did with BetterHelp, when I was smashing Cody's car and Gare walks in and does his little BetterHelp thing. Like that was like kind of a funny little moment that we all agreed, oh, that's a great way to incorporate that. The brand was really happy with it. The audience loved it, thought it was great. So anytime you can do that naturally, it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah. And so when you have that many videos, all that content that you guys put together, it takes a lot of time, right? The production you guys do is premium, so it's editing, all that stuff. There's a lot of time going into it. So how do you manage your time? Because all of you are family men. How do you manage that between the work that you do, being with your family? How do you prioritize what you need to do?
It is hard. We all have little kids. Kobe's got 2, Cody's got 4, Gare's got 3, Ty and I each have 3. We've got a lot of kids between us, and we've been doing this for a long time. But it is really important, and the older we've gotten and the more complicated our own families have gotten, the more we've really had to get serious about, we're going to try and treat this like a real 9-to-5. It never will be a real 9-to-5, and we remind our employees and everyone that all the time. Hey guys, this is a production job at the end of the day, and y'all, I don't have to teach you guys that. Y'all know it's hard. There's no like just normal hours that fit into that. Sometimes you have to film late. Sometimes you just have to keep going until you get it done because you have your release schedule and the treadmill of content just keeps going. But I think we probably waited a little bit too long to get editing help at the beginning. I think I'd, out of pride or whatever it was, tried to hold on to that a little too long. So certainly if there's anyone in the audience that feels like, oh, maybe I should start getting editing help, the answer is yes. Like that is absolutely something that people out there can do as good or better than you. And we took us too long to realize that. But that was probably the first domino in helping us realize that we can slowly hire people to help take some of the weight off of what we're doing so that we can focus more on the high-level creative and the stuff that we feel like is going to push the brand forward.
So when you spend all that time, production hours, very late, you're tired, you might get upset. How do you guys deal with it? You guys are family, really. So how do you deal with that moment where you're like, I want to walk out of this? Like, what do you do at that moment? How do you guys work through that?
We just walk away. No, we definitely started out as like best friends, and I think we're definitely more family now, where brothers like can have that argument or fight, but then come back and conflict resolve and just talk it out. There's definitely some frustrating times. Like we're all very jet lagged right now, so if there was a dispute that happened after this, it probably wouldn't go great, and we'd have to circle back. And but we've learned we've just learned to talk, and we used to kind of talk behind each other's backs a lot and be like, if I had a problem with Ty, I would go to Kobe and be like, dude, you got to talk to Ty. I can't stand him right now. Instead of now, it's just like I go to Ty and be like, man, what's going on? So it's definitely been a long, slow process of learning how to slowly resolve conflict together. But it's been great.
Yeah, it sounds simple, but we have just gotten better slowly over time. We just call it cleaning the slate, and we just have to have the hard conversations man to man, and forgive each other and move on, because certainly over that many years there have been plenty of conflicts, and money gets involved and life gets hard. But we love each other enough to fix it and clean the slate and move on.
Like in the past million, we might would have talked behind Corey's back about him holding the microphone up like a rapper. But like now we would just address it,
Hey, Corey,
head on,
stop holding it
and just
like a
remind
rapper.
him in front of the crowd that you can just hold
No,
it.
that's smart. That's great.
down here.
Down here?
Yeah, and then
It
you can
works?
just like comfortably talk into it this way.
I thought it only worked if it was upside
No,
down.
it
It does
doesn't
work.
really
Doesn't
have to be like
which
that.
is
that's
probably
so
why
cool.
they do that on stage.
Gotcha. That makes
What a
sense.
great example
Thanks,
of conflict
Cokes.
resolution.
No, and
though.
look, I think we're good.
I've grown from that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
100%.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
But we've done this 7 times during 7 different seminars, and yet you still go to this.
A lot of time in
haven't
between
learned.
each
It's a
one.
slow- it's a
very
slow fade.
natural.
I love it. I saw you guys. I had the opportunity to be at the shoot that you guys did for the Daytona 500 spot that we worked together. And so obviously you're doing this as part of a collaboration with a brand. There is a financial commitment. So you bring that energy, that friendship into the work that you do, which is reflected in what you do. And what I'm getting at is, since this is a financial partnership, right? How do you evaluate the work that you're doing after you're done with it? Do you say this is something that we're really proud of, or what do you see in it that you're like, we need to learn more from it? And how do you apply that in the next content that you put out with the next partnerships that you do?
I think it's really easy to get caught up with view counts and analytics, and I know there's been years where it's like we looked way too hard at all those numbers and data points and all that stuff. And I think for us, we know it's a good video before it ever launches on YouTube. Like when we sit in the editing bay with Tim or whoever's doing the final edit and watch the final video, we all have a sense of how proud we are of that piece of content. And I think that's really when the decision for us is made. Like, man, this is something that I'm really proud of. And I think you also just got to remember, like, we as creators, we truly feel like we have the greatest job in the world. And we've had athletes from every league, MLB, NFL quarterbacks, everybody tell us that we have the greatest job. We get to go do all the fun stuff at the Super Bowl and then skip out on practice and go back home and then go film the next, fun piece of content. And there's obviously days where it feels like a job, but I think just remembering the freedom that we have kind of in this role to be able to create and to be able to do what we do in the first place is just such a huge blessing. And we are, I would say, apart from seeing the content like for the first time, like when we start sharing it internally or pieces of the content with each other and other people on the team, like that's when we know that we have something really special. And usually the views and the stats are indicative of that, but when it's not, especially this far into our journey, we don't let it bother us too much. But I would say before it ever even launches on YouTube is when we know, like, hey, that was worth it, and we're proud of that.
And you're saying that was perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when it comes to that, I mean, you guys do trick shots, right? And you guys are the best at it. And when it comes to it, I'm sure sometimes it takes a couple of takes to get exactly what you want because you're a perfectionist with the stuff that you do. But then how do you feel now when you have technology coming in, providing tools that are making people's lives easier, like AI coming into play and stuff that we have done with Samsung, for example, that brings AI to people's hands? What's your view on it when it comes to how that is affecting the creative world and how that is affecting you guys as a brand?
I mean, I'll say we've really dove pretty hard into AI. I love it. Specifically, the guys kind of laugh at me sometimes how much I'm messing with it. But whether it's circle to search with Samsung and tools like that that are genuinely helpful, or stuff that's more ideating with Mid-Journey or all these different things where we're creating thumbnails, coming up with new product ideas. I think it's massive, and we've talked to our Photoshop team and editors, and we are taking the approach of get on board or else we're going to get left behind, in whatever role you're in. If you're a Photoshop guy or a video editor, like, it's happening. It's just very obviously happening. And so we think it's going to be very helpful. We think it's a tool to use. We're not scared of it. I know that some industries are scared of it, but we're not taking that approach. I still think it's scary, but we very much feel like it's happening, and we need to take advantage of it and use it as best we can. I think it's fun.
So with that in mind, how do you see Dude Perfect 15 years from now? What do you think it's going to be like in the creative space? If you put on your wizard hat, how do you envision that?
I mean, it's kind of nice already. The editors don't have to come to us unless they really want to for a voiceover, because they can just type it in and it has enough of our voice, which again, terrifying, kind of convenient. Talking with our editors, I do think there's a real life scenario where I'm sure it won't be that far from now. It'll probably be next year or 2 years where we could make an entire animated Dude Perfect show, maybe even a real life one, and get 90% of the way there with just AI. And that is insane, but I think there's a lot of fun that can come from that. And so we're definitely, like Corey said, trying to lean in and see what it could become.
It can possibly give you the opportunity to have more of a balance, right? And spend more quality time with your family also. So since we were talking about the future, what are you guys working on right now? What big plans do you have in the radar?
One of the big things for us is we're going to take our first break this summer from our touring. We've normally done about 20 to 25 shows. We travel all over the U.S. and we do like a 90-minute show with a mix of like our battle videos, our overtime, Rage Monster, and we'll be doing a international tour this fall. So we're really excited. We're going to start planning that out, kind of taking the best pieces of all the first 4 tours and going over to Europe. So that's big. And then some other exciting stuff is just like the bucket list series. Has been a fun one for us. We've done Alaska bucket list. We've done, what was the other one? South Africa. And then we just got back like literally yesterday. Ty got here about an hour ago from New Zealand and Australia. And so we got a chance to do some Formula One stuff, the racing cars. We got some stuff from the Great Barrier Reef. And so I think that series, we'd like to do 1 or 2 a year. So we're starting to game plan what that's going to look like maybe the end of this year of where we could go or what we could do. One of the things that I'm going to try and do is get in an F1 car and like drive on a grid and try and like put down a really nice lap time. I don't think I'm going to fit. Even if I do fit, I don't think I'll get the speed right. So we'll see what happens. I'm hoping I don't die. But that's, one of the small things that we're doing in the coming months.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on all of your success. I want to take the last few minutes to open the floor to the audience. Any questions?
Hello. I have a question for Corey. I'm kind of in the same position where I think I need a transition to working with an editor, just to free up more of my time to do more of the bigger creative stuff. My question is, did you have to handhold your new editor? And if you did, how long did it take? Did you go through multiple editors, or were you like kind of working alongside them for a certain amount of time to get them to produce the videos that you like versus like giving you something brand new, I guess?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me, and I will put myself in the perfectionist category. I don't know if that's you or someone else in the audience, but a lot of editors find themselves, they feel that way. And this is your baby, right? This is your brand. It's usually you on camera. And so I think that there's a natural desire to try and make sure that this other person does it exactly like you. And I think there's benefits to that, and there's also downsides. For me, I took that approach, and it took a long time. I mean, our main guy that's like our main post-production lead editor, he's been with us now for 8 years, and it probably took at least a year, if not 2, for me to like really, really, really trust if I wasn't there in that moment. I was very much over-the-shoulder editing for a long time. And it was really, I'm just being honest with you guys, it was only until like the last year or 2 that I got to the point where I could not even leave comments. So it took a very long time to like genuinely, you could load a video and I would not even personally check it. But one very practical tool, if you guys don't use it, is called Frame.io, frame.io. And your editor, whether they're with you or not, they can cut a video and they upload it to the software, and then you can leave comments on the software while you're watching the video, and you start typing in it, time codes it, and then you can send that to your editor. And if I had had that sooner, I probably could have sped up that timeline. So I would definitely say use that, but 100% you just have to take the leap because it is worth it. It takes time, but it's super, super worth it.
And I think you'll know pretty quickly, like if the person has it, and if they don't try and spend a year trying to fit this person to make it. I think for us, it's been hire, take your time to hire, and then fire quickly. If you know, hey, this isn't working out, it's better for both of us that we just part ways. And so for us, we had a guy for probably a year and a half too long, and we just kind of kept hoping he could make it work, and it never happened. And I wish we had gone back and made a decision sooner.
It's easier to teach timing and like pacing and things, but someone's selection of the shots, they're filming you for 5 hours and then they're just choosing the gold that they choose, like the best moments. If they're just not choosing the best moments, I've found that that's really hard to teach. And if they have a really bad sense of humor, that's different than what your channel is, that's hard to teach. But I agree with Cody. You can teach a lot of the things, but some of those things are intangibles that are tough.
Also, as a former Dude Perfect editor, edited one video, NFL Kicking Edition, if
video.
you guys want to go back and watch that this
like
afternoon.
40
Just
million
appreciate
views.
the cinematography and the editing style used there. I don't even know. I really just wanted to get that fact out. I was going to say something after that.
We fired him.
No, I heard that you...
Fire quickly.
Another good idea is take a bunch of, even if it's a video you've already launched, take the raw footage, give it to a few editors, let them put something together, and then make a decision based off that. So
Good.
Yeah, and if you are trying to hire somebody, nothing else in my opinion, nothing else matters except for their reel, right? They can send you all their experience. Who cares? You want to see their reel, and it's a bunch of people will send wedding videos with just music. But you need to know, like, can they edit with audio? Can they transition stuff seamlessly? So just have them send a reel. Hopefully they filmed it and edited it. But those are some very practical.
best tires we've ever made, though.
Definitely.
And if you're kind of tired of being a creator and you just want to be an editor, we could use one. So come on over. We'd love to have you. Creators make the best editors because they get it.
Good question.
Any more questions?
Was good. All right, so I'm trying to be a better person every day to make myself be a better creator. So I wonder, what are your actions that you guys are taking every day? Because I'm assuming you guys don't all take the same actions. And maybe I could cherry pick some things that y'all do that I can incorporate into my lifestyle. So for me, audiobooks, I don't like reading, so I've been doing that more. I've been taking just breaths of gratitude in the morning or at night and just being thankful for the breath that I get to take every day. Those are just a couple examples. So give me some things that you guys got, and hopefully I can take something from it.
Get rid of all your tablets, your phones, your
as a creative, right?
TVs.
You got to take a break from the tech. And so I do feel like that has made a difference for me personally, just as somebody who's growing.
Yeah, for me, I have 4 kids, I've got a newborn. So before this most recent child, I would try and work out from like 6 to 7. Now with his schedule, I have to work out around lunch, maybe after work a little bit. But for me, it's about 45 minutes to an hour of just sweating. Just changes my mood. It makes me feel better. If I don't, I'm gripey. I just kind of get a little bit more moody. And so working out for me is big. And then we're all Christians up here, so I try to get in the Word. And even if it's just one psalm a day and read it and pray it as if I'm reading it, that kind of centers me and just helps me with relationships and my wife and everything that's going on in our world.
If you are going to work out midday, and if you're working with somebody, just make sure to tell them you're going to work out. Cody we're like filming a mid-scene, and you're like, where's Cody at?
I didn't know you started working out again. How long you been doing that? You been at it a while?
Yeah, you not see any. I'm maintaining.
Yeah.
If I didn't, it would look different.
That's really good. Good advice.
This is super embarrassing, but I'm going to say it. I got this from Kobe. We both have struggled to wake up earlier, and as you get older and have kids, you just have to get up earlier if you're going to work out. And so Kobe and I bought this watch that vibrates to wake you up in the morning, but then you have to get out of bed and you have 15 seconds to go into the other room, and if you don't do 10 jumping jacks in a certain amount of time, the watch goes,
I've never heard this.
This is embarrassing.
and it shocks the shiz out of you. It electrocutes you.
It's
hardcore.
unbelievable.
It's called Pavlok, and it has
It's not
life.
real. It's
I wake up at 5 now, and I used to not be able to
The
wake
fact
up
that
before
we haven't
7.
thrown a twin off a cliff in 15 years.
Love you guys. Hey, we're just being honest.
That
up
is
here.
crazy.
Pavlok.
I appreciate
Yep.
it.
That's-
it out.
yeah, get you a Pavlok, I guess.
It's amazing.
Wow. I don't have any advice.
My
You guys took them all.
advice is not to listen to the twins, but
Your experience may differ.
Alarm clock.
All right. Any more questions? Back over there.
When it comes to brand partnerships, do you guys kind of have like a flat rate that you know your value and you're like, we're always charging that all the time? Or if there's a brand that you really like, are you willing to be flexible and go down?
Yeah, I mean, no, we don't have a flat rate. I think it's really much just finding the brand partnership that just works for you and how you feel comfortable with it, and the relationship you build with them. Like, we try to incorporate a lot of things now. It's not just like one. It used to be just one YouTube video, and then like Instagram came out, and so then you're like, well, let's incorporate some social stuff to
You
that.
just aged just a lot.
Yeah, we did it before Instagram came out. Yeah, it's not like a flat rate, and sometimes, brands have smaller budgets, sometimes they have bigger budgets, and it's really just what fits best with your content and what, you feel is worth it. And sometimes, like Ty said, sometimes you feel like the idea and the value you're providing doesn't fit their budget, and maybe it's just hey, we're going to pass on this one, and we appreciate it. And sometimes they come back and say, oh, we found more budget, and sometimes they're like, well, maybe down the road. So I wouldn't say go flat rate. I don't think that's a good approach. I definitely think kind of stay flexible, and it just really depends on kind of what you're creating at that moment.
I think one other thing that we've done too at this point, and I think this just takes a little bit of time, but we've really tried to align ourselves with bigger partners that we can do more things with, so that it doesn't seem so out of left field when we partner with a brand. And like Bass Pro Shops, is like Kobe mentioned earlier, we've been partners with them for like 12 years now or something, doing something with them. Nerf was one of our biggest partners for a long time. Samsung partnership has been great, and that's ongoing. So being able to partner with those key brands that your audience gets familiar with, and that you guys know how each other work, and you don't have to go through the whole process again, like, well, hey, we don't actually do videos like that, or it just saves a lot of headache and a lot of time. But that would be something else, is look for those partners that you can kind of have an extended relationship with.
The last thing I'd encourage you on there, just like Corey said, it might be getting out of your comfort zone to hire an editor earlier than you think you need one. Push yourself to when the brand that next time asks you what you charge, as you're growing in your career, step that up next time. That can be hard. I think we would all say there's a ceiling eventually for sure, but I think we were pleasantly surprised, and Ty's dad was our business manager for a long time, and he pushed us at this. Hey, let's ask for more this next time. Eventually people will say no, but until we get to that line, let's see what you're really worth. And I think you guys deserve to be able to do that and to push yourself in that area.
Yeah.
One last question.
Hey, guys. Hey, staying on the topic of brands and stuff, you talked about saying no to brands that you're either not aligned with or whatever reason. Was there ever a point where you guys, the financials, just kind of made you rethink if you could do this in 5 or 10 years?
Meaning like it wasn't looking good?
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, we've had those moments for sure. And I think we especially felt that before we went full-time. That's a piece of our story, was we were doing this part-time for 5 or 6 years right out of college. And there ended up being a real jumping in point for us, where for 5 guys, 5 different lives, different guys in different jobs, hey, are we actually willing to quit our real life jobs and jump in? A lot of you guys are already past that. The best thing I could encourage somebody who's questioning kind of the financial piece would be, are you reliant on just one thing right now, right? Are you reliant on just your AdSense? And if this video doesn't take off, all of a sudden you're questioning your whole creator career. If there's one thing I do think we maybe even accidentally did well early, was kind of spread out the different things we were involved in. So just really push yourself on it. Is there some type of a product? It might not outsell the Kardashians line of whatever they're doing, but could it give you another revenue stream, where as you build this up, one day that could become more significant? Obviously merchandise, but we did iPhone games early on, and I ran that project, and I found some random iPhone game maker who would do it for free and split revenue on the back end. Like there's something out there for you guys on that could exist that you're not thinking about right now, that I would encourage you could help give you kind of some more flexibility financially.
Yeah, I think one thing I'd add to that is what I wish we thought of earlier on in our career, which now this is our whole goal in creating what we call Dude Perfect 2.0, but our goal is to create a brand that lasts even beyond the 5 of us being on camera. And I think we would have been better off if we started doing that at year 5 versus year 15. But I mean, truly the goal for us, we always use the silly example of nobody knows who Dave and Buster's or Buster are. Maybe it was Buster's. But you know that it's a fun place to go and take your family and play games, and that's what we eventually want Dude Perfect to become. We do not want to be doing water bottle flips as 65-year-olds. That would be a massive failure for us. And so putting all of those different things like Kobe's talking about in play early on is a huge step in the right direction early on, I think, in your content creating career.
Awesome. I think we have time for one last question.
Hi, do y'all have and or work with any charities with your brand? That's kind of new for me right now, and I'm kind of trying to navigate that, as I've done charity work for so long, but I was so afraid to post about it because of people's comments. So I'm kind of navigating that, like posting about it just to build that and help support other people. So I don't know.
I'll speak to that quickly. I'm curious what y'all would say. We have learned over 15 years, I think early on we thought the stunt is all that matters. People just care about what you're doing. This big basketball shot, this whatever impressive thing. And I think what we found as we look back is what people really resonate with is the story, right? What did they latch onto over all these 15 years have been the interesting storylines. And I think back to when we have done things with Make-A-Wish or Charity Water. There's a story that goes along with that. And I think it's easy to feel the way you're feeling, like, I don't know if people are going to like this. It might not feel as exciting. But if there's an emotion connected to it, then I think at least what we've seen is the audience really grabs onto that. And so we have done a number of different things over the years, and they've turned out to be some of the most impactful, and the things that people talk to us about when they see us on the street is that this made them feel a certain way, and that's been encouraging to me.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we've had that exact conversation that you brought up in your question. So we do 2 Make-A-Wish days a year, usually up here at the office, where we'll have 20 to 30 families come up at a time. And we've literally had the combo, like, if we post this to people, just think, oh, wow, look at Dude Perfect guys. They did something with Make-A-Wish. And I think it really just goes to the heart behind it and, like, what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish. We don't showcase all of the Make-A-Wish stuff that we do, but we do post about it when the kids are here. They like to see it. They like to be involved. And it truly is one of the best days of the year for us when they come up here and we just get to spend time with them. So we've done work with Children's Cancer Fund and other organizations locally here. As far as like our own charity, we, I guess, technically have it started. We haven't really taken that to the next level. It's just been easier for us to work with already established foundations and charities so far to this point. But I think that may be something that, as we talk about the 2.0 stuff, we start looking at more. But yeah, that's a great question.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys very much for your time, and again for hosting us, having us here. It has been awesome to have you.
Thanks, Amelia. Great question,
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.